I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this event. And I'm happy to announce we have several great presenters on tonight's MASL Masters Live. So we're going to start off first and foremost with, I believe it is More Leaders. Sheila Michaels, you're first.
Hey, that's cool. Well, good evening, everyone. If you were at our last live session, my project partner, Cassie Flores, she couldn't be here tonight because of a previous commitment, but she and I are designing and creating our More Leaders program this year. And I really wanted to just chat with everybody for a minute, maybe just a couple of minutes, and encourage, if you haven't applied yet and you still intend to apply, I really encourage you to get your application out there. We are really, really hoping to have a good cohort of people, and we're really excited about this project because we're going to take our cohort through, and they are going to be creating and writing a member toolkit for all MASL members. And so it's a really good way. And it doesn't matter what year of librarianship you're in, as long as you're working in a library, as long as you are, doing library work, you are eligible to apply. You do not have to already have your MLIS. You don't have to be within a certain, I know with ALA emerging leaders, it's only if you've been in the profession for like 5 years and under. We want this open to everyone because we realize that if you start young-ish and when you're in your profession and let's say you're working on your master's, you might not have time to add an extra project in. This could be year 10 or year 15 for you, but you are like hoping to step out and you're ready to step out and get even more involved and connected in MASL, this is the place for you. So we're going to be writing a toolkit for all of our members. That way we have an easy one-stop shop of, oh, okay, I know that we have a person who is in charge of XYZ. Who is that? Or, oh my gosh, I know that, there was this thing that I saw, this application that we could fill out, or who do I contact with this or that? So we're going to be making a really cool, interactive, dynamic toolkit for all of our members to use. And hopefully that will get us all a little even more connected, because I've been in MASL for a long time, but even I sometimes forget. I'm like, okay, wait, now who's our second vice president again? Who's our third treasurer again? Like, I don't know all of that. Okay, I'm kind of teasing about that, but sometimes you kind of forget. And so we're going to put all this together. And Cassie and I are very excited to work with a group and a team that is just wanting to get connected. And that is the whole point of our More Leaders program. And so in order to apply for More Leaders, there's a very short Google form, which I put in the chat. And those of you that have applied, you can attest to. It's not super intensive. It's not going to take you that long to fill out. You're going to fill out your Google form. This is due at the end of October because we did want to be able to, at our fall PD day, which Hope Hunter is hosting in St. James, I hope you're all going to be at that. We will be there, and we want to be able to be there to talk to you about the application if you want, talk to you about the program, and even sit down with you. And if you want to just apply right then you have an opportunity to do that. So that'll be due at the end of October, and we're hoping that we get a lot of candidates because we're really looking forward to the project. Any questions right now about More Leaders? Hi, Gabby.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm curious about, so the more or is it More Leaders?
More, yeah.
More Leaders. So that is more so geared towards librarians that have been in the profession for over 5 years, or?
It doesn't matter. It could be your first year. It could be your 25th year. It's for anybody who's just wanting to get more connected and to get a little more involved in MASL. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, it does say that on the application. I'm glad that you are thinking, because now that reminded me, you do need to be able to bring it to be at spring conference, because that is when you're going to present your project, present your toolkit to the rest of the members at spring conference. So you will want to look at those dates and make sure that you can attend to that.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, it's open to everybody because we realize that depending on your year and your career, you're in different places. And so when you're ready to work on something and get more connected, it's for everybody. And this will be the last thing I say. It really kind of is a short-term project. So the application is due like right at the end of October, or we might have made it 1st of November just to give you that weekend time. But then we're presenting in April. So it's a few months of commitment. We'll be working in teams. We'll be meeting via Zoom, of course, probably a couple of times a month. But then after spring conference, you're basically done with your cohort and done with this project. And that would be the time that we would want you to start like looking for other ways to be involved in MASL. We will be encouraging everyone to start applying for committees, applying for teams and stuff like that. So if you're thinking like, yeah, I want to do it, but I don't know if I have a whole year, it's not going to be a whole year commitment. It's really like 4.5 months.
When do we find out when we're selected as a MORE leader?
Yeah, so that will be, we're projecting like by the end of November for sure. We'll need a few weeks to go through applications and go through references and everything. We would like to meet with our cohort at like before everybody goes on Christmas break, just to kind of get everything rolling. And that way, when January rolls around, we can start with our first meeting and really kind of hit the ground running, so to speak. So after we get applications in, 2 to 3 weeks after that. And I did ALA Emerging Leaders too, and then Cassie just did it this last year. So we're both ALA Emerging Leader people. We see the value in that type of program. And even though this isn't an emerging leader, it's a MORE leader, because like we said, it's anybody from wherever you are in your career. You do really build a cohort and a connection, and you've got your go-to people already built in. So it's been really nice. I love the experience, and I hope to, might not be able to totally replicate it, but at least build something comparable for Missouri.
Next, we have Dawn with our scholarships, grants, and recognition. Dawn.
All right. So I love the musical reference. So we're going to go down the yellow brick road and find out more about our scholarships, grants, and recognitions. I apologize. I am going to read a little bit because that's a lot to talk about. So scholarships it's just awarded to anyone that's doing a graduate program in school librarianship or instructional technology, or getting a school library certification can apply for that. So that's a scholarship towards school. Friends of the School Libraries Award. This is awarded to individuals or agencies who have provided an exemplary service to library media services in Missouri. And so the reason we're going over all of these is we don't always get applicants. So I'm hoping to spur some ideas of somebody you might think of that you could apply, or have some, tell them, hey, you should apply for this. The next one is MASL Special Service Award. This goes to an outstanding MASL member who has rendered significant service to MASL and or school libraries. The Service Award for School Administrators is for an administrator in a school district who has made significant contributions toward furthering the role of school libraries. The Bright Idea Award is just what it says. It's anybody who's had a great idea that spurred something in their district or their community. So you just apply and tell us about your idea. Teacher collaboration, we call it the TLC Award, is exactly what it says as well. It's just a teacher and a librarian working together to collaborate, and how that maybe impacted their school or community as well. First Spring Conference Opportunity Grant. So if you've never been to conference and you would like to go and you don't maybe have the funds, or your school district is not willing to help you with that, please apply for that so that we can help you. The Lynn Stipe Empowerment Grant is a grant that is given, and it's actually digital content for your library. And it's in honor of Lynn Stipe, who was wonderful at professional development and helped with MASL in many, many ways. And so we give that in honor of her. Intellectual Freedom Award is presented to an individual or group who has supported intellectual freedom in school libraries. And the Outstanding School Library of the Year Award honors an exemplary program demonstrating strength in areas of foundations, building the learning environment, teaching and learning, building collaborative partnerships, advocacy and outreach, and leadership. And it is modeled after AASL, although we are still working on the rubric for that one because we didn't have access. So. And then school librarian of the year, we talked about last time we were here, but basically we're just honoring a K-12 librarian in Missouri that's a MASL member that does outstanding work. And Sheila was our winner last year, our inaugural winner. So we would love for people to apply. Nominate your friends and colleagues. There are so many of you out there doing amazing things, working with amazing people, and we just need you guys to apply. And we've tried to make it super easy this year. So the new website is up. It looks amazing. And so I put the link in there for the scholarships and grants because I wasn't even sure what it looked like. So I went and saw it today. It's really good. So when you click on the award you want to go to, you're going to go right to a Google form, and then you just fill it out. You might look at it first because you'll need to write some. You could do that writing on Google and then just copy and paste it or upload it into there as one document. So we've tried to make it super easy for you to just apply and be done. But we would love to have so many that we have to really work hard to score them all. Everything's December 15th except for School Librarian of the Year, which is November 1st.
We all are doing great things. And
Yes.
so please take a moment and consider applying for one of these awards. It's a great opportunity to share the great things that are happening within your own library. Thank you, Dawn, for sharing your information. Hope, you're up.
Meet me in St. James. This is my hometown. I've lived here for a lot of years. I love the area. I'm very, very excited to have the opportunity to host MASL Fall PD in this area. One reason is it is very, very centrally located. So I'm hoping that for those of you who are used to having to travel from one side of the state to the other, that this is a good meet in the middle kind of place. We are going to kick our event off on Friday night, October 25th. And we will have that's when the executive council will meet from 3:30, I think until 6-ish. At 6:30, we will meet at Lucy Wortham James Elementary School, which is where the building that I'm in. You are very welcome to come in and tour my library. And then we will enjoy a trolley ride from our high school librarian's son and wife will be taking us around to the town. It's a very small and historic town. Our town benefactress was Lucy Wortham James, which that's where we get our school name from. But she left an endowment for our community that afforded us the public park, the swimming pool, the public library. We have an old schoolhouse that my brother went to kindergarten in, which is really kind of neat to see. And a whole bunch of different things like that. So I'm hoping that the fall colors will be out and beautiful and you'll get a nice taste of my small, beautiful hometown. Afterward, we will meet at a local brewery with a winery connected to it that serves very delicious food, public house. So please join us for that. The trolley ride is of no cost. That has been donated to us. And then everyone will be welcome to join us for dinner. And that will be self-pay if you would like to join us for that. On Saturday, we will have our professional development time, and I'm very excited about the slate of speakers that we have lined up. When I started thinking through this several months ago, I really was looking for a great variety because I felt like by the time we get to this time of the school year, we're one quarter down or very close to being a quarter down, and things have kind of settled into place, and now you are really getting down and dirty with what you need to pull off for the school year. So hopefully we have something for everyone. We will start the morning with some announcements, welcoming remarks from our president and our association, if there's anything that needs to be shared out there. And our keynote address this year will be by Greg Kester, who is Missouri's 2024 Teacher of the Year. And for those of you who are curious as to why I decided to go that route with asking him to be the keynote, is I started thinking that librarians, we work really hard, and most of us are dual certified, and that's for a very good reason. It's because we actually do two jobs. And when I read through Greg's biography and started to get to know him, he is a social studies teacher in my region in Missouri, ironically enough. He lives in Potosi, Missouri, which is another very small town. So we had some connections in common. he wears a lot of hats in his district too. And what I like about Greg is he continually reaches out to try to do more to help support his students and his teachers, which that very much reminded me of what librarians do. And much of our job is wrapped up in collaboration with teachers, because that's how we know the support to give. We have to work very, very closely with teachers. And so I wanted to make sure and include a teacher with us, because I feel as librarians, we do a lot of work into teacher professional development opportunities. And so I thought it would be nice to make sure teachers knew they were welcome in our area too, and hear firsthand from a teacher the value that librarians have to that side of the education career. We will have 3 breakout sessions. The first one, we will have opportunities to either hear Lisa Scroggs, who has been a wonderful friend to MASL. She worked at DESE for a number of years, but before that, she was a high school librarian and journalism teacher. When she began working at DESE, she was part of the English, she was with the English side of things, the department, but then she also voluntarily took on the library side of things because of her history with librarians. And she's really, I feel, made that important again at DESE, because they have brought her back out of retirement for the past 2 years to try to make sure that libraries in Missouri were supported in our school systems. So Lisa will be visiting with us to offer us some updates as far as what's happening at DESE right now. We do have a new commissioner of education, so things are going to inevitably change, and she's very good about keeping us informed about what's going on there that will affect us. We will also have our diversity, equity, and inclusion team meeting with us. They have worked very hard the last several years to get this going. They offer some phenomenal book studies. They have a great slate of books lined up for us this year. So I'm very excited to have Gabby and her team presenting. And then Tom Bober, who was our past president, he has done a lot of work with primary sources. He's written some books. He spent some time at the Library of Congress as a librarian in resident, and he is bringing his expertise to us to share how you can really share that love of social studies with historical primary source documents. Lunch will be provided by a local caterer who we flock to when she's open and we have opportunities to eat her food. She's really, really great, and I'm sure she has a great fall lunch ready for us. Breakout session number 2, we are going back to the basics. I was thinking through, we've had a lot, and we know a lot's going on with book selection in our libraries and what we have in our collections. And so I thought it would be great to bring in some experts and give us some reminders, give us some resources, and talk about collection development. So Paula Erickson and Jenna Kammer from UCMO will be joining us to help us with that. And then Andrea's team will be offering a look at the draft program standards. As you know, the instructional standards were approved last year, and many of us are using them. This is the connecting piece, those program standards. And our own beloved Sheila Michaels will be back. During summer PD, she challenged us to turn our lemons into lemonade, and she will be back with a follow-up workshop on that. To round out our day, we will have the Readers Award lists presenting. So this is the Dogwood with the nonfiction titles and Denny O'Neill with the graphic novel titles. They will be telling about what they've been reading and working on, and they are actually getting ready to start a new cycle of list creation. I believe theirs starts in January. So they're ending this year's cycle of list books, and they'll be starting a whole new process very soon. We also wanted to give support if any of you are interested in submitting an application for the Exemplary School Library Program recognition from DESE. This workshop in particular is designed to be a work session. So if you are interested in applying and you took one look at that application and decided it was very overwhelming, or if you have applied and did not receive the recognition and would like some pointers and help with what to find to include in that application, or what you can offer, or how you can tweak something that maybe you received feedback about, this will be the workshop for you. We will have representatives from all 3 levels, and I believe Lisa Scroggs from DESE will also be joining that workshop as well. So bring your things, bring your application, and we will have people there who will be very happy to help you. And the last session we have offered is from Julie Jameson. She attended a workshop from AASL last year for law for librarians. And sometimes we get into areas where we are not quite legally sure what we can and cannot do. And so Julie will give us some tips and tricks and pointers on that. That afternoon, if you are part of our board of directors, we will have that board of directors meeting after our closing remarks at 2:00 until about 4:30 in the evening. So I'm very excited for this. I think it's going to be a great weekend of learning and networking. I hope to see you, to meet new people, and hang out with my old friends from MASL. I did want to clarify that the executive council meeting and the trolley ride will originate at the elementary school, but the fall PD the PD event itself will be at our high school. And I will be sharing a map with Jill this week so that you can see the entrance door and where the parking lot is and the entrance door.
I am excited to welcome Natalie Lloyd. I'm so excited to have the chance to talk to her about her book, Hummingbird. It's one of my all-time favorite books. I feel like it was absolutely great. So Natalie, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to be here. Would you be willing to share a little bit about yourself?
I would love to. Can y'all hear me okay?
We can.
Coming in clear. Good to go. I had my tech support, AKA my husband, check this all out for me before I jumped on here. So fingers crossed it works out. I am Natalie. I write books for middle grade readers, which is my biggest dream. I used to think, okay, maybe someday if I get really good at writing, then I can try writing for kids. There's no way I can do it first because in my heart, those have always been the best and most beautiful books. Middle school is when I fell in love with reading myself. It started for me with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I always tell kids when I talk to them, that's the first time I felt book magic and experienced what the characters felt, and my brother will never let me live this down, started actually camping out in closets in our house thinking I could get to Narnia that way. And I'm still convinced it could happen someday. But that's when I fell in love with books, and not just because they were fun. They helped me through some really tough times. And I know we'll talk about that a little when we talk about Hummingbird. But that's what I get to do now. And I can't believe it. I write stories. I do lots of school visits. I'm actually going to be in Missouri next year. I just finished all of that info today. I'll be there in March. And I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you can't hear it in my accent yet, you will. The more I talk, the thicker it gets. And I have 3 wild dogs. 2 of them are in here with me. Fingers crossed you don't hear them, but sometimes when they're not getting attention, that's when they really like to show off. So we'll see how it goes.
So I have to tell you, I listened to Hummingbird on Audible, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've listened to her talk the whole entire time. You were so incredible. I was like, oh my gosh, I listened to you the whole entire time. So absolutely incredible. So sorry, I'm just so excited. Okay.
I'm so excited too.
I can't believe you read that. I mean, it was just absolutely, you did such a great job. Okay. What made you write a book about a child with brittle bone disease?
So I also have brittle bone disease. I have osteogenesis imperfecta. That's the same bone disease Olive has in Hummingbird. And usually as soon as I tell people that, the question is, well, why did it take you this long to write about it? Because this was book number 7 for me. And I think there are a few reasons. One is because, and this may sound kind of silly, I didn't want people to find out about it and feel sorry for me, or I didn't want that to become my whole identity, right? I'm like, this is already such a big part of my life. And I had disability in my books before because that's my normal, but I'd never written about it to that degree. And so when I first pictured Olive and I pictured her with brittle bones, I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. My editor was all for it. And the thing is, at first I tried to make it like her experience with it was so much better than mine. Like, she was fully invested in that first draft. You know, she was super confident. I always say she's sort of what I feel like people want literature to be. therapy when there's disability representation in it. And that's not how it really is for me, though. And it actually, unfortunately, took a fall. In 2019, I was walking through my house to check a door lock one night, and I slipped in dog drool and heard a snap, and I'd broken my femur. And I always tell kids, y'all already know, but I tell kids, that's a hard bone to break. Usually it takes like a linebacker or a dump truck to break your femur bone. That thing is tough, but mine broke, and I started these months again, just like I'd had when I was younger, which I should go back and say there are all kinds of OI, but mine is pretty mild. I'm very lucky. And so I hadn't even had a fracture since I was like in middle school. And suddenly I had this big break again and surgery and therapy. And I remember one night I was so frustrated. I was hanging out beside my husband. We were on the couch. We were playing Mario Kart. And I threw down the controller. I was like, oh, I just hate my body. I hate how fragile I am. And he was like, hey, you're not fragile. Your bones are fragile, but you're amazing. And he was so sweet about it. And that's when I realized I had been telling Hummingbird all wrong. I had to put the good and the bad because I think that's how life is. You're always figuring out how to hold all the hard parts that you're not planning for. And anybody with any kind of chronic illness gets that, whether it's brittle bones or arthritis, whatever you deal with, that's part of being human, is that we're going to have these things happen to us that we can't control. But you also have all this beauty that you get to see and experience in this same body that you're in. And so that's how I kind of figured out how to tell Olive's story.
So I sent Natalie a list of questions beforehand. When I read books, I always take quotes from books because I think those are the powerful parts of the story, right? That you want to continue to remember the story over and over again. And so my exact things were, I loved how creative and perfect your words are, which I feel they are so wonderful and they are so perfect. And so I'm just amazed. Your words are powerful and your ideas continue to resonate with me even after I turn the last page of the book. And so I'm going to read you two quotes that I found, well, maybe three quotes. But one of the quotes that I loved in the story is, if you have a book, it's on page 11. And it said, mostly when I pray, I picture God holding my heart up very gently to his ear, like it's one of those big fancy seashells with an ocean sound inside it. I've got 1,000 tiny oceans inside me, and I think God listens carefully to every crashing wave, all the fears and hopes. And then for the librarian, this is on page 141. I nodded quickly, pushing the book into her hands before I could change my mind. It's one thing to give a favorite book to someone who is actually a friend, but giving a book you adore to a complete stranger is a terribly vulnerable feeling. I don't know how librarians do it all day long. And then the last one that I love, and I love Miss Snow, right? The librarian. She was actually the librarian that I wish I was. You know what I mean? So hopefully someday I'll become Miss Snow. But the whole idea is when they were talking about wishes, right? And Olive was like, you have wishes too. And her quote was, you don't think it matters to other people too, Miss Snow said gently. I think everybody's got a wish. A wish is a hope with a little magic sprinkled on it, you know? And when you hope for a thing too long, it could hurt when it doesn't happen. And so I just think all of those quotes are just so powerful, and all the words you shared are absolutely incredible. So my question to you is, I guess, how are you able to put into words what is felt by the heart?
First of all, thank you for everything you just said. I think my mom is the only other person who has ever called anything I've written perfect. So thank you. That's so encouraging and so kind. And the truth is, it doesn't happen with a first draft. Usually a first draft of a book, I always picture the characters telling me the story. And I tell readers that too. I'm like, when you start writing, don't aim for perfect. Just get the story out. It's like when your friends tell a story and they forget things, or you might not even know how to tell it or where to start. And so it is a jumble. It's such a mess. But then as I keep going, there are two things that help me try to share my heart. I'm glad you said that's how it resonated. That's what I hope for with every draft. One is my editor, who will really pick up on certain elements in the book and push me further and try to get me to tease it out a little more. I read a quote by Richard Peck once who said that a good editor holds a flashlight while you dig for buried treasure. And that's what it feels like working. My editor's name is Mallory Cass at Scholastic, and she's phenomenal at knowing exactly where to push me a little bit further. And then the second thing is to try to be true to how I feel about everything. I think magic in a book is so much fun, but what makes a book feel real is the feeling inside it. If you felt as scared as the characters do, as happy as they do. So I try to be very vulnerable on the pages, which is a scary thing. Not everybody likes what you put out there, but it's worth it. It feels right when I get it where it needs to be.
Well, and then I just think you're so creative too, like to name the wheelchairs like Reba and Dolly, right? And to
Right.
have a sloth named Bon Jovi. I mean, honestly, absolutely incredible. So thank you so much. So my next question is, how did you react to the news that your book made it as a finalist on the Mark Twain Readers List?
I was so stinking excited. And not only was I excited, I remember getting so many messages that day on Instagram from friends who were librarians on there, even readers on there. I even got an email. Sometimes kids will email me from school, and those emails are the funniest ones because they're very quick. You can tell they're like right in the middle of something. And there was like, you've got to know you are on the Mark Twain list, and this is a big deal at my school. So it feels so special just thinking about all the books y'all read, the fact that that librarians thought this one deserved to be on shelves and in schools and in some kids' hearts. That means the world to me. So thank you so much.
We are so lucky to have it as part of our list this year. And I told you that I like to read, when I read stories, I pull quotes out. So tell us your favorite part of the book.
Okay, let me read just a little bit of my favorite part. So it starts on page 19. This is the first time, chapter 3 is when the book breaks into verse, which I did not know would happen when I started writing. It just kind of naturally happened that way. And I was excited, and it took, well, let me read this to you, and then I'll tell you what I realized when this came out. So chapter 3 is called Candy Bones. Osteogenesis imperfecta. It sounds like a magic spell if you don't know what it means, like words you'd whisper over muddy sludge to make the wildflowers bloom, like words you'd holler up at the storm to clear a path for sparkling stars. It might sound like magic, but right now, today, it feels like a curse. It's the curse of bones that break easy for no reason. Candy bones, glass bones, OI is the reason I'm fragile. Femur, patella, socket, tibia, fibula, more magic sounding words that are only bones, bones that are built to connect and grow and build a body. But mine weren't built right. That's what I believe. Grandpa Goad says I am not correct on that account, that God made us all and God don't make mistakes. But I don't understand why God made me broken. I've asked God this question plenty of times. He hasn't answered me yet. Your bones look like lace on the inside, Dr. Cass told me once. And that's the problem. If I lived in a novel, I could have bones made of lace or ribbon or icy spider webs or sharp shafts of rainbow light. But in this world, a girl needs bones made of concrete, a heart made of steel. I'm 11 years old, but I already know that's true. And when I was writing, and that happened, and that was one of those wonderful days you hope always happen when you're a writer, when you're in the flow. I mean, so much of that is like the first draft I wrote of it. Most chapters are not that way. But when it started to break that way, I remember emailing my editor, and I was like, I'm not sure, what this is. I don't know if you feel like this is okay. Is this true to the story if I keep it? And she loved it and suggested I try more throughout the book. And I realized, when Olive is thinking about herself, when she sees herself as broken. The rest of the world she doesn't really see as fractured, but that's how she sees herself. So that felt like a very natural way to keep the spirit of the book going throughout the whole story.
I do appreciate all of you've done in sharing the book with us and sharing the book with our readers. I will tell you that many of my students absolutely loved it. In the chat,
Good.
I don't know if you saw that, but Hope said that my students love this book. One teacher brought it back last week and said it made her cry. Cry as in, this is one of the best books I've ever read. So,
I'm so glad.
yeah. Hummingbird's not your last book. And so you have another book coming out called The Witching Wind. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yes. So The Witching Wind came out last month. It's brand new, and I'm so excited about this story. This is the story of two unlikely friends. Their names are Roxy Darling and Grayson Patch, and they're starting sixth grade together in a town where a strange and mysterious wind blows through the town and steals stuff. And up until now, it has only stolen stuff, but suddenly people start disappearing. And two of these people belong to these girls. So they set out together to find their people and figure out what the source is behind this wind, because it's rumored there's a witch on the mountain that stirs up the wind and looks for things with it. So it's a mystery. It's about friendship. One of my favorite parts is here on the cover in the corner. You can see Grayson's walker just barely. She also has brittle bones, and I did that on purpose. Grayson's experience with her body is very different than Roxy's. A friend of mine, his name is Gary, has the best quote. He's deaf, and he always says, if you've met one deaf person, you've met one deaf person. And I think that's so true of any disability. You know, there are so many ways we feel about our body and the things it does for us. So Grayson is disabled. Her attitude is what I wish my attitude was. On a good day, I'm Grayson Patch. Grayson's like, if you don't like me, that's your problem. You're missing out. She is happy to take up space in the world exactly the way she is. She puts Christmas lights around her walker and flashes them sometimes. So very different than Roxy, but I'm so excited about the story, and I'm excited for kids to discover it.
Does any librarian on tonight want to ask a quick question? How do we get in touch to bring you to our schools?
Oh, that's an awesome question. Let me go back to, because I'm just now reading the comments, and thank you so much for saying the Audible was good. Matt and Dawn said it was good too. I actually got to do that again. I couldn't believe anybody besides my mom wanted to hear me talk that long, but this book is in 2 points of view, and I got to be Roxy in The Witching Wind. So if you listen to it, you'll get a whole lot more twang for hours and hours. As far as school visits, I do a bunch of them. And if you go to my website, it's natalielloyd.com. You can see how to get in touch with the agency I use. But just so y'all know, I don't advertise it, but I still do 20-minute Q&As with classes that are free. So if you read Hummingbird with your classes, or your students this year, if you know a class at your school that's reading it, email me through my website, and we could always set up a virtual, just go back and forth with questions students might have. But if you want to do an actual school visit, that information's on my website too. And those are really fun.
I appreciate everything. You guys are awesome. Natalie, good luck. I can't wait to read The Witching Wind. So that's my next book.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And thank you all so much for letting me pop in.